ideology is about individual beliefs and values about politics, where political culture is about shared values, the country's values, social values. This is really about individuals, what individuals think about government. And it's really the question of what is the proper role of government? What do you think the job of government should be? And those answers vary. Some people think that we should have a big government, and that's the best way to regulate society and the economy. Some people believe in a very small government, that the smallest government is the best. And it comes down to questions about should the government be involved in the question of gay marriage and drugs, prostitution, campaign finance, minimum wage, tariffs. All of those are questions about what the right role of government should be. And we want disagreement. We want public discourse. We want different opinions about that. Now, the media often confuses this topic because they only talk about liberal and conservative. And so only two of the ideologies that we have are really discussed in our media. And quite frankly, they don't even discuss those well. They conflate liberal with Democrat and conservative with Republican, and that's certainly not the whole picture. There are four types of ideologies, and so we're losing half of our spectrum when we only talk about liberal and conservative. The other problem is that ideology is not the same as political party. Far from it. There are liberal Republicans, given there are few in today's Republican Party, but 30 years ago there were quite a few liberal Republicans. There are definitely conservative Democrats when you look at the Democrats that are in Congress from Indiana and the Midwest. Those are fairly conservative Democrats, and it's one of the natural fights that goes on between and within the party, is that there's more progressive Democrats that want more liberal Democrats who want, more social services from the government, and conservative Democrats who don't. So there's a natural fight within the Democratic Party. There are libertarian Republicans. Because there's not a libertarian party, a lot of libertarians belong to the Republican Party, and they disagree with a lot of what the Republican Party wants to do. So ideology doesn't determine your political party. You get to choose which political party you belong to, regardless of what your ideology is. And I guess the easiest way to say this is to say that if you came into this lecture thinking you knew absolutely what liberal and conservative meant, that might not be true, because the media conflates it with political party, and there are some flaws in that logic. So we're going to talk about these four ideologies. And the reason I say, not populist is because Thomas Patterson in The American Democracy refers to this fourth ideology as populism. And that isn't completely accurate. For some reason, all political scientists agree on three of the four ideology labels, and the fourth, you'll see a wide variety of terms. So there's status, and there's populist, and there's just a lot of terms that are used. Authoritarian, I think, is the best, because it has authority in the root word. Just like libertarian has liberty in the root word, it helps you to remember what that ideology means when you have that label. So we're going to be talking about these four ideologies and what they mean and what it means to be one of those ideologies. We're really breaking it down into two different arenas, social and economic. So the Libertarian Party created this small political quiz that you can take online, which is much better, because you can say maybe and you can, look and see where you are on the spectrum altogether. But basically, my caution for the the quiz is that, number one, it's created by the Libertarian Party, and so it's trying to lead all of you to be libertarians. Resist that. Read the questions and then answer them. But also, it's certainly not the best grammar. There's some double negatives and some, kind of unclear things. So take the world's smallest political quiz, and then come back and we'll talk about what that means. So these are the questions on the world's smallest political quiz. These are the 5 social questions. Government should not censor speech, press, media, or internet. We're getting at the question of, what involvement the government should have on really the media. Military service should be voluntary. There should be no draft. There should be no laws regarding sex for consenting adults. Repeal laws prohibiting. Again, there's a double negative to try to get people to agree with it. So if you want to repeal the laws prohibiting the criminalization of drugs, adult possession and use of drugs. And then there should be no national ID card, citizenship papers. We don't have a card. It's kind of strange when you think about it, but there's, except for a birth certificate, or naturalization papers, you don't have a citizenship card. We rely on the decentralization of state driver's licenses or state identification. So there are some who believe we should have a national ID card. So those are the social questions of what the government's role should be. Then there's the economic questions. End corporate welfare, no government handouts to business, end government barriers to international free trade. That's kind of a question about tariffs. Government barriers are tariffs when we charge money on imports coming in to our markets to kind of level the price. So if China can make a DVD player for $29 and the United States it costs $129, we might put a $100 tariff on that import to make it cost the same. Number 8, let people control their own retirement, privatize Social Security. So whether or not the government should be in the business of providing retirement. Number 9, replace government welfare with private charity. Whether you believe the government should be providing welfare or it should be provided by somebody else in society. And then cut taxes and government spending by 50% or more. Obviously a big drastic cut. So those are the economic questions. And so you'll either answer agree or disagree, yes or no. But then we can track it. And so on the computer, if you take the quiz, it will plot you on the spectrum. But if you're doing it by hand, if you agree to a majority of the top 3 in social areas and you agree to the bottom 3, you're a libertarian. If you don't want the government involved in most social issues and you don't want the government involved in most business issues, then a libertarian, somebody who wants liberty, somebody who wants the smallest government possible. If you answered the reverse, if you believe that the government should be involved in social issues and you believe the government should be involved in economic issues, then you're an authoritarian. Somebody who wants authority from the government and rules and structure. The trickier one is liberal and conservative because they're going to switch sides. So a liberal wants freedom, liberty on social issues, but wants regulation on economic issues. And a conservative is the opposite. So a conservative wants the government to regulate social issues, but not economic issues. So at the end of the day, in your lecture notes, you should be able to fill out this freedom or regulation chart to kind of keep everything straight. And so I always start with libertarian because I think it's the easiest. Liberty wants freedom in both areas. And so in the social arena, the libertarian wants freedom, government out of that area, and also in economic. The authoritarian wants the exact opposite, so regulation and regulation. And then the liberal and conservative, you're going to have to remember which area they want freedom and which area they want regulation. So at the end of the day, you should be able to fill out this chart and be able to answer any questions about that. So the libertarian wants freedom and freedom. The authoritarian wants regulation and regulation. The liberal wants freedom in the social area, but not in the economic. The conservative wants freedom in the economic area, but not in the social area. So hopefully that clarifies. The question is, where do you want the regulation from the government? Where do you think that is best? For a liberal, they believe that we as individuals should be free from government regulation. However, they don't trust business, they don't trust corporations, and liberals believe that there should be regulation on the economic side. Conservatives are the opposite. They believe that business works best when government stays out of picking winners and losers and trying to regulate things. But conservatives believe that socially we need legislation. Socially we need that kind of regulation. Libertarians believe the government should stay out of everything. Authoritarians believe the government should regulate everything. And talking in extremes to those points, but to fill out this chart, that's true. So ideology is going to be where you believe the government best serves our country, whether that's in the social arena, whether that's in the economic arena, or whether that's not at all. So that's kind of where we are with ideology.